Pledge of the evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Morrison County Board of Adjustment public hearing. Okay, a few items to cover. As Clint did, please sign in at the door. Detailed handout is there if you need it. Electronic devices on silent. All testimony is recorded. Members of the Board of Adjustment are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts. Land Services staff is here to assist the Board of Adjustment with its duties. The task of Board of Adjustment is to consider requests for variances and appeals from an order, requirement, or decision made by a county zoning official in accordance with the state law and county ordinance. Each request is considered on its own merit. The burden of proving a practical difficulty rests with the applicant. If a variance is granted, it is granted to the land, not to the landowner. There is a protocol for how we will proceed. For each variance request on the agenda, we will hear a staff report, hear testimony from the applicants, and then the board will discuss and gather more information as needed. Next, I will ask if anyone in the audience is wishing to speak on the requests. I will ask each party to come to the podium, state their names and address for the record, and give their testimony. Please be factual as possible. Direct all statements and questions to me. After all testimony is complete, I will close the public hearing and a portion of the process. The board will then review and discuss the case in terms of our finding of fact criteria as required by Minnesota statute and county ordinance. And then we'll have a series of votes, discuss whether conditions be made, have a final motion to approve or deny the request based on those findings. After this final vote on your request, you may leave if you wish. So before we begin, I just wanted to, just for the record, to state that where's my record on that? On July 14th, we were out of viewing out on Chavanaugh Lake. There were, all 5 of us viewed the property that day.
4.
Well, Clint viewed it later in the day.
No.
Oh, you didn't?
John wasn't there.
John was there.
No, he wasn't.
Nope, this was just last Friday and the.
Oh, no,
4
2 weeks ago. I wanted that on the record, that when we were at
When you were at the
Chavanaugh.
Robinson one?
Yes,
Okay,
that we were at a viewing at the Robinson property. Otherwise, it's not going to be in any record.
okay.
So, and all 5 of us did go to that viewing along with Sharon. Okay. And this Friday, we viewed the Davis property, and Clint, Brent, Marv, and myself were there along with Amy. And that was at 1 o'clock. Okay, will the applicants state your names for the record?
Jeff Davis.
Beth Cope.
Thank you. Staff report?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is a variance request to expand a nonconforming structure located in Section 7 of Richardson Township. The ordinance reference for this request is Section 706.1B. And here's the plat map of Richardson Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the variance request received from the applicant. And then the site drawing also provided by the applicant. And then these were not in your packet, but these were provided after the viewing. So these are some renderings of what the proposed structure will look like. All right, and then here is an aerial photograph of the parcels outlined in blue and yellow. And then some oblique imagery of the property. And then here are some site photos taken at the viewing on August 4th. Again, the property is in Section 7 of Richardson Township. It's on Sullivan Lake, which is a general development lake. The property is made up of 3 parcels, and together it is a non-conforming single lot, which means it's less than 30,000 square feet and 120 feet wide. The property is 163 feet wide and 20,300 square feet in size. According to the assessor's records, the 720 square foot dwelling was built in 1930. The dwelling is 30 feet from the lake, and the home was built prior to land use controls. A garage also exists on the property, and the permit, the permit indicated it would be 30 feet from the township road right-of-way. However, upon measurement in the field, the garage is 25 feet from the township road right-of-way. The applicant is proposing to remove the existing cabin and construct a new one that is attached to the existing garage. The cabin would meet all setbacks, but since it is being added to the garage, which is a non-conforming structure, a variance is required. Within the application, a deck is proposed within setback to the lake, and the applicant has since rescinded that request, so you won't be considering that. The impervious surface for the project is 16.2%, 25% impervious is allowed. An approximate 4,380 square foot envelope exists on the property, and the cabin will fit within that envelope. And then here is a drawing of that. The shoreline assessment score for the property is 2 out of a total possible score of 14. And then here is the temporary and permanent stormwater control plan that was submitted by the applicant. The applicable comprehensive land use plan goals is natural resources and open spaces, goal C2, shoreline development, goal D1. And then the applicable comprehensive water plan goals and objectives is a surface water goal, objective B, land use and development goal, objectives B and D. 113 notices were sent. I did receive a call from Mike Inslee from the Richardson Township Board. He called and stated that the township is aware of this and is supportive of the variance request. And then here you're finding a fact and decision questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Amy. The applicants have anything to add to the staff report at this time?
Just the one that he filled out opposite of the one where we rated 2 instead of 14. We talked about that on Friday. He filled that out incorrectly, like opposite of what he
The
should have.
shoreline assessment worksheet?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Yep, that, I assume they'd fill that out as to how it will be after construction is done. I mean, right now, there's a house in the first 50 feet, there will not be.
Right.
And that will be all grass.
And we'll have grass and
So that would
shrubs.
get them a 7 on that score for ground cover. And then shrubs and bushes, you know, however you replace trees that you have to take out and
Exactly.
put trees in that area where the house is or shrubs will determine the score there, but it should be much above 4.
Yeah.
Or 0
2.
or whatever it is.
It's 2.
Mr. Chair?
It should probably be about an 11 or so.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Clay.
It depends how you fill it out. I filled it out myself. I come up with a 10, but it's anywhere between 8 and 12. It just depends on how you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Anything else?
He did a drawing if you needed that for that.
Yeah, you asked for a drawing where we're gonna put some trees and stuff.
Oh, okay, that'd be good to
Bring
add.
it up.
Yeah, bring that up to Amy and put it into,
I'll need to keep it. Okay, thank you. Thanks. I'll mark this as Exhibit 1.
well, thanks for submitting that. That's very helpful.
Yep.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, all right. Then, board, any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Clint.
unfortunately, all the questions I had, we kind of just got taken care of. One was the 2 points on his shoreline assessment, and then the other was kind of something to do with the drawing he just submitted. So other than that, I don't really have no questions.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, here I see what was recommended. It was checked off as construction work is having the silt fence, and it's just recommended, and you were saying you were gonna follow that anyhow. And at that time, we were also talking about putting like some type of barrier that could direct the water away rather than a silt fence, but I mean, some type of control recommended.
Yeah, sandbags were recommended, and we said we could do that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, anybody else?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Brent.
I'd just like to ask the applicants maybe to explain their practical difficulty just a little bit better for me. From the visit that we were out there, you talked about several plans that you tried to get to work that couldn't quite work, and then you came back, and it's been a several-year process to come up with this plan. But there has to be a practical difficulty in this moving forward, so I just wanted to hear a little bit more on that.
All right, well, I guess the difficulty would be, just being able to build ourselves a home there, or a winterized building, so we can enjoy it in the winter too. And, it's, the old building's kind of small on the inside, and, and to keep space, like our kitchen is, as she says, it's a one-butt kitchen. 2 people don't hardly fit in it.
The other plans that we had would have interfered with our septic and the mound, so obviously we really can't put the septic anywhere else on our property. So that's what we came up with, attaching it to the garage and then going up a floor. Does that answer your question?
It helps.
Okay, what else? I'm not exactly sure what else you're asking for.
Well, we have to answer questions that you had to answer as well, and the response that you had down here for your practical difficulty was, C question 1, the variance is needed due to circumstances not created by us. Our proposed plan will not alter the character of the location, but talking about the sewer, that helps, trying to find a location where it's suitable.
Yep.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to just try and
Sure.
draw out from
Yeah.
you that there is a desire, as I understand it, to attach it to the garage,
Right.
which then, without the garage in question here, this would be a conforming structure within the building envelope, but as soon as you touch the garage, now it becomes a request
Right.
for a variance because it's too close to the right-of-way.
Right.
So your desire is to have it attached
Yes.
so that you can come in from the cold, I presume?
Yeah, into the, yes.
Into your home?
Right, and then I just wanted to state too, we were issued a permit for that garage 22 years ago, and it was compliant then. But due to the conditions of what the county has done, or not the county, the township has done with ditches on the opposite side of where we are and how they've graded it, that road it's 5 to 6 feet wider at our cabin and another cabin than it is anywhere else on that area. So, I mean, we can't control that, obviously. So that's why the garage isn't compliant now.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Right, thanks. Anybody else? Yeah, I thought on that question too, and, you've really got a nice long lot, lakeshore-wise, 163 feet, so it's above the minimum of 120 feet. But at the same time, you've only got, a little over 20,000 square feet because it's a very shallow lot. So just the design of the lot between the lake and the road makes it difficult to place things.
Correct.
You could chop 5 feet off your garage and add the house and be compliant, but would that be in the best interest of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't really need a variance if you did that, or just move I don't know, can you move the garage closer to the lake? Probably not. I think it's right
I
at
think-
75 feet, or,
It's pretty close.
Pretty
yeah,
close.
yeah, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you answered that pretty well, though. Anybody else have questions? I had a couple of questions on your stormwater plan. Now, that was, I assume that's submitted with the shoreline assessment worksheet?
The one on your monitor?
Right,
Yes.
yep. I think you've got things, now, this is something you prepared, not something you've worked with anybody at Land Services, correct?
Yes.
Yep. I know, I'm sure we'd need, if we were to move forward with this, that we'd need to condition some kind of stormwater control plan, and you've outlined one here. Do you understand that completely, what you've done here, or what you said?
I
What
think
you
I
do? Could you review that for us, what your stormwater plan really is during construction and then after
Oh, during
construction?
Okay.
Yeah, both, because you'll have two different issues. You have
Right.
you have a lot of bare ground during construction. After construction, you'll just have to deal with where is the water always going? And you said towards a ditch, but I'm not sure what that meant.
Okay.
Okay,
On
there-
site, you explained it, I think.
okay, you've got the road ditch, which the water channels through. And on our property line, on the south side, there is a ditch that has been there forever, and even the county runs their water into that ditch from across the road,
Township.
the township, to run out into the lake from there. I'm gonna direct everything to that ditch.
That's over by your well in that area?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know you'd pointed that out to us. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So, there's, obviously, there's going to have to be a lot of dirt work done there, and to get everything running where we want, even like on the house, the gutters I haven't decided if I'm gonna bury something underground to run the water over there, or just run it across the top of the ground. And there's actually like 3 areas that all the water will be directed to. There's on the east side, and that'd be in the road ditch, and then where that new shed is, it's low. On the west side of that, the water will run out there, and then in the front, there'll be another area that's low there, that the water will be directed over to that ditch too.
and all of that area is going to be well grassed?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you've got some other native vegetation that it flows through over by the well towards that ditch?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, as far as, during construction, we pretty much just have that area where the dock is. That kind of that does need to be blocked off so nothing can go out there, because we have that high berm all the way around. Or up and down the.
Yeah,
across the front.
other than just where you drive down to the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you need to berm around that to prevent it from going
Right,
directly.
yeah, and you suggested sandbags, so, we can build that up.
Okay. As long as that's something you do, and that's something that can be inspected when it's all done and approved by Land Services.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah,
One of the things that I want to point out is this is, the request is for expansion of a non-conforming structure as it sits to the road. The stormwater practices and all of that will, when they pull their permit for the home, that will be built into their permit. So that will be a requirement just for construction and shoreland. They must abide by that. So I'm just saying, the nexus that you have, this is not an encroachment on the setback from the lake. It's to add on to a structure that doesn't meet setback from the road. And this type of work will be within the permit, because it is required that they have to undertake those stormwater controls, just.
we've been caught other times, though, by not conditioning and not being able to enforce things. So I'm glad to hear that that's part of the rules.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I want to reiterate things that I think you're thinking it's okay to direct your water towards the lake, towards that ditch. And what we'd like to see ideally is have that water being saturated and your grass being filtered before it goes to the lake. We have retention ponds people have built to prevent it from just going directly to a lake and contaminate that lake. Sullivan is a beautiful lake. We want to keep it as a beautiful lake and not contaminate it. That's why you deal and work with the stormwater individual. Darren Willie can make some recommendations what you should do. Just things for you to
We don't have
digest,
a-
to think about.
Yeah.
And as Amy stated, it'll be part of it, but rather than thinking about directing and having everything, that's not what we'd like to see
Yeah,
filtered
but-
before it receives.
Yeah, the reason I said that, that's the way it's always went. The water always runs there and runs down and out.
And what we'd like to see is make it a better site and by tearing down your cabin, moving it further away from the lake, doing some of these should make it a better site. And that's more apt to approve if you continue to make it a better site than what it was.
Yeah,
Sure, so, and like Amy said, that will be part of the permit, so then we can talk to the land service people and, you know, they can recommend what the best use or the best
Absolutely.
way. Okay,
Absolutely, thank you.
yes.
Yep, thanks, Marv. And just to clarify that, Amy, that's for during construction and after construction. It's all part of the permit.
So any construction within shoreline, within our ordinance, we have that you have to control your stormwater, you've got to have stabilization. If you pause your project for more than 3 days, you have to have it buttoned up, so all of that will be written into your permit. Your stormwater, your long-term stormwater controls, that's what we would be looking for in your permit application as far as how that's going to be moving across the landscape. And of course, we want water to move down rather than
Right.
across the
Understood.
landscape. And so although some of that water, the final destination, may be the lake, the more you can slow that down and let it sit and absorb, the better. So
Okay.
that's what we're looking for.
sure.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you. I think that clarifies what you've got on here, and
Okay.
very well, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Ready for public input? Okay. Is there any public input at this time for or against this application for a variance? Is there any public input at this time? Is there any public input? As there is no public input, we'll close this meeting to public input at this time. Okay, are we ready to go to the questions? You have more for the candidate, applicants, I mean, or? Okay. Then that's what we'll do. Okay, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? Start out with Clint.
I believe it is. When we look at this whole project, they're building in the building envelope. The only issue really is that it's going to be attached to the garage, and the garage is a little too close to the road right away. And I think with over the years of that road changing, I think that's what puts the burden on that. So if you look at everything in this application other than attaching it to the garage, I think it hits right on with what our ordinance is asking for in a comprehensive plan and all their plans and their willingness to work with land services and us. You could tell that they're sincere in this application and doing the right thing. They've tried multiple plans to try and get it to work. So I do believe it's in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the county land use ordinances and comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Clint. I was just looking at my notes here, and I just want to clarify one thing. On impervious surface, you've got the one deck down that's along the shoreline.
Oh,
That's
right,
within
by the
50
berm.
feet, in the shore impact zone. Kind of an observation deck out there. And then also in your plan, you have a 12 by 14 patio designed, I think,
I think it was 12 by 20, actually.
12 by 20?
Yeah.
Okay.
12 by 20, 12 by 24, it should be written in
Okay.
there.
That should be added into the impervious surface, but that still only brings you up to about 18, maybe 18.5% with that. Okay?
Okay?
So is that a fixed number? What is the patio?
It should be written on there. It's either
Yeah, it
12 by
it's,
20 or 12 by
it can,
24.
it can be. I don't need anything bigger. I just thought what our deck in the back was pretty close to, well, a little bit longer than that, I guess.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just one thing I'd clarify, they originally in this application, so these notes are 16%, and that was with that deck that they're not gonna put on.
but they also have a deck over by the shore,
12 by 24.
12 by
is the
20.
patio we'd like to include.
Okay? So a 12 by 24 patio.
Right.
Okay, that should be added into the impervious surface then. Yep. Yeah, you had a deck originally, now it's been changed to a patio.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And the deck, the current deck that's out by the shore, that is 12 by 14, correct?
Yeah.
Ah, that sounds right, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, it wasn't added in.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Brent.
I would just add on to question number one. They're removing this non-conforming 1930s cabin and building a new home on the property that is going to meet all setbacks other than the setback to the road, only because they're attaching it to the existing garage. So being in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the land use ordinance, I think it is, because that's kind of what we want to do is see that 75-foot setback. We don't have that now. The cabin's actually all within that. And so that does meet the purposes of our land use ordinances.
I agree, thank you. Yep, anybody else? I guess I'd just like to add that it's just a 5-foot encroachment onto the township right-of-way by the garage, the existing garage, and that the township seems fine with on that. So
Can I add one
it's
thing?
in harmony with what their concerns would be.
Right.
Go ahead.
So when we attach the new home, we are offsetting it that 5 feet from the road as the road right away. So it won't be in line with the garage. So the cabin will actually conform to the road right away.
Sure.
It's the garage that's
That's
Yeah.
what I said.
okay.
Yeah, so the two nonconformities on your property would be the deck along the shoreline and the garage
Okay,
to the right-of-way.
yes.
Okay. So the deck on the shoreline isn't one of those ideal things. That's but it's there, and you are grandfathered in on it. But the nice thing about it is that it's in a good location. I mean, there's a berm between it and the shoreline, and it's well vegetated and tree cover, but it's still impervious surface in the first 50 feet.
Understood.
Okay. Okay, anything else on question number one? Okay. Number two, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? Marv?
Well, I was going to use what Brent stated here, but I'll reiterate what he stated here. The new cabin, you're tearing down a cabin that didn't meet the setbacks. You're willing to go ahead and improve the property by doing some storm water things, plants, trees, and this issue of tying it into the garage that did meet the setbacks, the township went ahead and created, and they're perfectly fine with you doing this, says, hey, this only makes sense all the way through. Yeah, it's very reasonable. And you look down the line of the other cabins there, you meet all the setbacks, and you're even further away than a lot of the cabins that are there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Marv. Anybody else? No, I'd just like to add that that's very reasonable to attach it to the garage. And the nice thing about that is that, you could have got this over-the-counter permit if you wouldn't have attached it to the garage. But then you'd have sidewalks in between, you'd have more impervious surface, you'd have wear and tear on the yard, going from garage to house. It's very reasonable to attach the house to the garage, even if it's a non-conforming garage. Barely. All right, anything else on number 2?
My feet's killing
Dave
us.
said that, break that in the record.
Did I answer the right question? Okay, number 3, we're ready for number 3. Will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Brent?
I think it'll maintain the essential character. The essential character in that area is cabins every 50 or 60, maybe some are 100-foot lots. This is 3 lots. It's going to have 1 home on it. Taking down the existing 1930s cabin and replacing it with a modern home that is then set back 75 feet, maintains the essential character of the locality of Lake Shore in Morrison County.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you. On to number 4. Is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? I get to answer that one. What did I write down? As the applicants have stated, it met the setbacks when it was built. The road has changed. It is a non-conforming lot in that it's under 30,000 square feet, but it is a long lot. It has 163 feet of lakeshore, which is we don't see that very often, as Brent pointed out. So, yeah, how do you fit it in between the 75-foot setback to lake and the setback from the right-of-way? Difficult to do. That would be the practical difficulty, in my opinion, and it was well stated by the applicant also, I think, clarified during our discussion. Anybody else on number 4?
I'd just add and reiterate that the lot design and then also how the road right away changed from what that garage was. It was a permitted entity back in the day when it was built. It met setbacks, and with this change of the road right away, it made it uncomplying.
Yep. We have to assume that it was permitted and inspected and passed, so must have been conforming.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, number 5 is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners. Clint?
Yeah, I believe so. Again, what we kind of talked about in our practical difficulty with the lot design, that was whoever designed that lot. Then also with the changing of the landscape as far as it goes with the road right away, how it changed. I think, yes, that's due to circumstances. We could say that they're building a new cabin and they're causing this, but you can't say that because they're trying to make it conforming. I mean, there isn't very often that you can tear a cabin down and move it back to meet setbacks. I think that's great. So I would say yes, that it's created by actions other than the landowner and previous landowner.
Okay. Anybody else like to add to that?
Well, I'll reiterate, Mr. Chair, I reiterate that it was the township that created this here practical difficulty with the making of the road or changing the road, and Clint called it road landscaping, but I'll just say the township created this issue.
Okay, thank you. Ready for number 6? Okay, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Marvin?
I think it does. They've been working with land services, trying to come up with a good plan, and they recommended to move the cabin closer to the road and ask for a variance by the road versus towards the lake, and they meet all the setbacks. And they looked at possibly planting trees, shrubs, whatever. So they're looking at more just an economic considerations. If they wanted to do it the cheapest, they could rebuild what they had and then they would have a non-conforming, continue with a non-conforming cabin, where this almost is a conforming structure.
Thank you, Marvin. Anybody else? All right, ready to vote? Okay, we'll proceed with the vote. Number one is a request in harmony with general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinances and Comprehensive Plan. Clint?
Yes.
Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Number two, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? Marvin?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
Number three, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
And Marvin?
Yes.
Number four, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
And Brent?
Yes.
Number five, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? Clint?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
And myself is yes. Number six, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Marvin?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
Okay, all the questions have been answered to the affirmative. Is there a motion to grant this variance?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this request for this variance.
I would second that motion.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? If no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. I'll do a roll call vote. In favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Marvin?
I'm in favor. A.
Okay. Brent?
Aye.
Myself is aye. Clint?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Variance request is approved.
Thank you.
So unlike the planning commission, this is where this stops. The county board does not do anything with it. So this has been granted. So when you're ready to pull your permit for the construction, come on into the land services department and we'll work with you on that.
Perfect, thank
Okay.
you.
Sounds great.
Yep. Thank you for putting together such a nice, this honestly was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
was.
So thank you.
Thank you for all your work in the past years trying to make this work.
Thank you.
Yep.
You guys have a great evening.
Thank you. You too.
As well.
Should have signed that, Dave.
Something straightforward like this.
Move on.
Did I get the findings of fact? The last one? The last one we did?
I don't know. Do you want to move on though?
Oh, okay, okay.
And then we'll,
That could be old business. All right, is there any other business that needs to be transacted at this time? Minutes of the previous meeting? Is there a motion to accept that?
I so move.
I'll second them. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Minutes accepted as presented. Old business?
I don't have any, Mr. Chair.
Okay. New business?
None of that either.
Dang it. We got to make this last till 7:30. I promised we'd get out at 7:30. I've been trying to drag my feet and do that, but is it okay if we finish
I
early?
think that'd be a
Yes.
nice bonus.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I'd like
is
to
there a
make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:16.